What's up, everybody? It's Tony Moze, the rhyming book reviewer, and I want to talk about 4 reasons why I quit being a social worker. Now, let me give you a little info, a little background of me and why it would let up to me quitting. I worked in the field of mental health as a mental health worker, as a clinician, and as an in-home therapist. I worked with children, adolescents, adults, and veterans. My first work was working in a psychiatric hospital. And then I finished my tail end working in the communities as an in-home therapist. So this video is brought to you by, you can't see it because the wonderful lighting, but this one's called, and I'll show it to you, The 3 Signs of a Miserable Job. The 3 Signs of a Miserable Job by Patrick Lencioni. So I wrote 4 reasons why I quit being a social worker. 1, high burnout. 2, the horrible pay and benefits. 3, time wasted. And 4, low impact. Now let me talk about number 1, high burnout. There's this thing called vicarious trauma, where the clients you deal with, they have trauma. They're coming with anxiety, depression, a lot of mental health issues, schizophrenia, psychosis, everything you know under the DSM manual, all the stuff that's in the book, all the stuff that they exhibit and everything like that. And the longer you're around individuals like this, you end up getting their issues as well in some way or form, aka stress, distress, perhaps even further depression, anxiety. And so you get what they call vicarious trauma. You get the trauma vicariously through these patients. So that contributes to the high burnout. Number 2, a high caseload. When you're a clinician or social worker, there's so many patients. You get inundated with so many patients. Sometimes you go anywhere between 10 to about 25 clients of a caseload. And when you have that many clients, you don't have time to sit there and really take time and go in depth with these clients. It's on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. It's like they're like treated like products on an assembly belt. And because of the fact that there's quotas and you have to meet those, you can't bond with anybody, you're dealing with the vicarious trauma, you have the high caseload, it contributes to you burning out. And by burnout, meaning you feel really stressed out, tired, you just jaded. I mean, it's all negative, and it's a feeling, it's an emotion, it's all these things. It's just you. When you're burnt out, your brain is burnt to a crisp because you're doing all these things, working with all these patients, dealing with their trauma, dealing with high caseloads, and so therefore you burn out. And depending on the job, you can work late nights. When I worked in the hospital, though, it was 3 to, you could work anywhere from 3 to, or actually in the morning, if you worked 7 in the morning, you'd get out at 3, right? Depends. If you had a really tough time with a client who was put in a therapeutic hold or a restraint, and they were secluded in a room, or they said something that was unsafe or inappropriate, something that maybe talked about them wanting to kill themselves, then you'd have to sit there and do paperwork. And even perhaps, depending on the severity, process with that client, process with the staff, process with yourself, depending on that interaction between you and the client. So you could end up staying there a lot longer, a lot later, leaving the place, and that also contributes to burnout. Number 2, horrible pay and benefits. Now, I want to tell you a reason why, going by the book by Patrick Lencioni, but also the field of mental health, why people are getting paid so low. And if you click, or actually check this link out right here, I'll leave a button somewhere up around there that you could check out. It's about the VRIN score and how it has an impact on your income and how your pay grade and everything. So the horrible pay and benefits included the average income you would find yourself making right out of college is anywhere between $28,000 to $48,000. Now that could kind of vary depending on experience and your education and licensure, which also goes into number 3 about time being wasted. But you could find yourself working a lot of hours with little pay being highly stressed, highly burnt out. And you also got to think about the pay that they give you versus how much time and money you've spent in school, especially if you took out loans, is just not comparable to working in the field. So horrible pay. The benefits are pretty bad too. You find yourself not getting paid union stuff. A lot of hospitals and places boycott the idea of being in a union, so you won't find yourself getting extra benefits, earned time off and stuff like that. And if you do have a job, like one of the last jobs I worked as an in-home therapist, you have to read the fine print, because they will exclude some things that you thought you knew, but the recruiter told you differently. And so they promised me to get earned time off, but there was all these subsets and things that they said that's conditional for me to use the earned time off. Also, we were driving around as an in-home therapist. You have to drive to different homes, schools, programs, events. You have to have meetings with different professionals in the field or in regard to that client. So you have to drive to school, drive to an event, drive to organization, drive back to your job, have meetings there. And so you are, wasting gas. You're spending gas, burning it up, mileage. Also, your car. You think about the maintenance of your car and everything like that, the wear and tear on that. And they don't pay you that directly. It's something that you have to treat as an entrepreneur, because working in a job like that, they want to give you the idea, the illusion that you are a W-2, when in fact they're treating you like a 1099. And if I knew things would be like that, then I would just get my own business, or at least put myself in that mentality. And this is something that you need to consider when it comes to working in the field of mental health. Number 3, time wasted. All right. Think about the time that you spend in school. I mean, I don't know how your route is. I don't know if you went to community college, or if if you did straight into the bachelor's field, or if you went bachelor straight into the PhD. Nevertheless, it is years you are spending getting your education. And then also think about the licensure, which takes at least a year to get, which means you have to be supervised by someone who is more credible, who has the degree and the licensure themselves, and has been in the field long enough to be the supervisor, to supervise you while you get your credits for licensure, to take the licensure exam. So you could be spending anywhere between, let's see, you have your bachelor's, that could be as little as 4. And then if you want your master's, which makes you, of course, a social worker by then, like a licensed clinical social worker, that's another 2 years, depending if you do accelerated. Maybe it could be a year, but average time for a master's is about 2 years. And then the licensure takes about a year. So you got to remember that, like, you're taking all this time, you're devoting all this time out of your life to go to school, to go back to the same previous things, to basically, you're going to school so that you get little pay and be burnt out. So keep that in mind. You have to keep this in mind if you want to consider being a social worker, as I stopped because of all these bad reasons. So also, student loans, you can't compensate for the low income you earn. And then the last part of this, of time wasted, is you work long hours for low pay. Like when I was a clinician and when I was an in-home therapist, I found myself working late nights, bringing my work home. I mean, that's time wasted that I could be spending with family, with friends. I mean, it's the things that I've learned doing this, and I find valuable to me, is not only money, but also time. You have to have money and time in order to live the life that you want. And by being a social worker, you are devoting so many hours to get little return. And this is the last one, the 4th one that concludes it, is the low impact. I worked in a psychiatric hospital as a clinician, in a private hospital and a public hospital, and noticed we treated patients like an assembly line product. We asked the same basic questions like, do you feel like killing yourself? And do you hear voices? I mean, but if someone says yes, then you check it off, and then you just pretty much put them on a watch list, and they have to stay a little longer, in the hospital, or, but the way we process, especially as a clinician in a hospital, is just like, And you think about the psychiatrists too. The psychiatrists were there just basically to meet with them for 5 minutes and then give them meds and then walk on their way. So I feel really, really bad. I'm thinking about, once again, the book about why people find certain jobs miserable. And there's this book right here called The 3 Signs of a Miserable Job by Patrick Lencioni. It's a white book. I think they may have changed the cover of the book, but it's a really good book. It gives you 3 reasons why. And here's a little rhyme I got for you, because this book is an amazing thing, and it really impacts about the 4 reasons why I quit being a social worker. I worked a job misery. It was giving me problems mentally, physically. Now I'm conveying it to you lyrically. Let me see if I could get the stress off my chest, because my last job, guys, left me depressed. I'd rather work at a job that pays lousier, as long as I could feel much happier. I was told to stick it out so I could get a pension, but I was left with angst and tension. I was miserable. This job hit me visceral. Once I quit, a weight came off my chest. It was a miracle. Once again, guys, this is Tony Moze. I am the rhyming book reviewer. If you want to check out more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button here in this video, and also the subscribe button in the other end of the video. I'd love to hear your feedback. More importantly, if you are a social worker, you want to get into psychology, you want to work in the field, please leave a comment down below. I would love to talk to you about it more in depth. A lot of kids from college are asking me too about my experiences, because they're debating whether or not they want to go to school and waste their money and their time and their effort into something that's not going to give them a return. Because my thing is, I want to be able to, save money. I want to be able to earn more money, have more money coming in, and also have enough time for myself so I could do the things that I want in life as well. And so if you're going to be in a job like that, you might as well consider something else. Maybe do it on your own terms as perhaps a business owner and an entrepreneur. I will get to you more on videos like that, such as business and entrepreneurship. But till then, check me out again and all my other wonderful videos. I love you guys. Remember, read the lines so you can feed your mind.
Looks the future, a rapper educator turned book reviewer. Here, book summaries using hooks and humor in your head like a putrid tumor. The coolest rumor.